Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys. It's Saturday, November the 10th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, joined by nobody. It's just me right now, taking you through this Saturday card. I know Alex B. Smith is ill. He won't be with us today. Andrew McGinnis, we were expecting him at some point during the show momentarily. Hopefully he'll be able to join us. But if not, it's just you and me here through this Saturday NHL Ice Guys show as we go through the 11-game NHL card. Before we do that, we have some business to take care of, some SBR business, some housekeeping, I guess you could say, to take care of. Have to mention, presented by uwager.eu, the SBR Poker Showdown, big time poker tournament. Top SBR on-air personalities will be involved in this poker tournament, sponsored by the good friends at uwager.eu. Jimmy the Bag's in it, my buddy Big Man on Campus, Jeff Nadu's in it, Donnie Rightside, Natalie Rydstrom, Whale Capper. It is a great lineup of poker entrants into this contest. I can't play poker worth shit. That's why I'm not in it. I have no interest in being in it, but it's still going to be a great event for the people that are in it. It's going to be streamed live. You can watch it happen as it takes place. All players in this poker tournament, if you want to enter it, must be signed up with an active uwager.eu account to be in the tournament. It will start at 9 p.m. Eastern time, the day of the tournament. November the 14th is when that is, by the way. November 14th. It's next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Total grand prize pool, $1,000 plus $500 in bounty money. The top 10% players will be paid out. 3,000 starting chips with 8-minute levels. Poker tournament's a free roll. Entry fee is free for anybody subscribed with an online sportsbook account at uwager. Tournament will be posted in the uwager poker room beginning at 6 p.m. Registration will start 2 hours before the scheduled tournament start time, so that'll be 7 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday, the tournament beginning 9 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a lot of fun. Each SBR personality has a $100 bounty on their head. That means any player who knocks them out wins $100. So should be exciting. Great chance to win money, have some fun, show off your poker skills if that matters to you. The uwager.eu exclusive SBR Poker Showdown, Wednesday, November 14th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Should be a lot of fun. Check it out at sportsbookreview.com. Sponsored by uwager.eu. All right, let's get to the Saturday NHL card. We've got 11 games. It's a big card. It's a busy one. Let's start with the Vancouver Canucks taking on the Buffalo Sabres. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter show if it's just going to be me on it. Although, with it just being me, it might actually be a longer show, but I can get going on a tangent, but we're going to try to make this a little shorter show. I don't want to be on forever and using up all my voice, considering I'm back on the air at 11 a.m. doing college football with Big Man on Campus, but we'll go through every game as usual, and we'll see what we can come up with. Vancouver, Buffalo to begin. This is an afternoon start, 1:05 p.m. Eastern. Puck drop, Buffalo minus 165. The total 6 shaded to the under, pretty much across the board in this game. What more can you say about Vancouver? I mean, what a team in terms of their effort on a nightly basis. I mean, this team just hard out, tough, good, solid, honest effort every night from this team. And it's paid off for them. I mean, they have done a tremendous job. I mean, there's nothing else to say. I mean, 10-6-1. Who thought the Vancouver Canucks through 17 games would be where they are right now? Just great. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. Their offense absolutely exploded on the poor Boston Bruins on Thursday night. 8-5 victory for the Canucks in that game. Just been splendid. Just been absolutely terrific, this team. Offensively, that's been where it's been impressive. I mean, I've talked about it many times. Their young forwards have been great. What a start to the season for Elias Pettersson. Bo Horvat's been good. They've gotten Jake Virtanen going a little bit after a disappointing year last year. How about Louis Eriksson, the old veteran on the team? He's been on fire offensively for the Canucks. And the Boston win came without Brock Besser in the lineup. He's been out with a groin injury, 29 goals last year. Besser was really playing good hockey before the injury. And now, they're still able to put 8 goals on the board against the Boston Bruins Thursday night, even without him. He's going to be out again. But Bo Horvat got 2 goals in that game. Eriksson, I talked about, just absolutely sensational, really, how good this team is offensively. I still have concerns about them defensively, for sure. I mean, when you look at the Canuck blue line, it's not a who's who of Norris Trophy folks. That's for sure. Ben Hutton's pretty good. Branson's not really the best to me. Pouliot's hit or miss. Delzato really has been bounced around to a bunch of different teams. Tanev is good. Like Tanev and Hutton to me are the two best defensemen on this Canuck team. And then in goal, it's really a dog's breakfast. I mean, Anders Nilsson's on IR. He's not great. Markstrom's inconsistent, has been his whole career. And Richard Bachman now is the backup to Markstrom with Nilsson injured. Why don't they give I know he's on the IR, but give Thatcher Demko a look. I've said this many, many times, but maybe that's not going to happen anytime soon. Buffalo, on the other hand, here's another surprise team. It's not take anything away from the Sabres. They've had a nice little season so far, 8-6-2. They've definitely played a little bit better than people thought. Sabres definitely doing some really good work here when you look at it. Playing some good hockey. The 6-5 win against Montreal in overtime. Wild game on Thursday night at the Bell Center. You like what you're seeing, too, from the Sabres with offense. I mean, Jeff Skinner, our good friend, he's been absolutely excellent. That line, you talk about some great top lines. Toronto Maple Leafs, when Matthews is healthy, great top line. Pittsburgh, great top line. Colorado, great top line. Rantanen, Landeskog, and McKinnon. Well, I'm not going to say Jeff Skinner, Jack Eichel, and Jason Pominville are on that level, but they've played great for Buffalo as a top line offensively of late. How about 43 points for the three of them combined over the last 9 games? That's very impressive. They also got some secondary scoring from Sam Reinhart. Vladimir Sobotka's all of a sudden scoring some goals lately for the Buffalo Sabres. So that's good to see. Very surprised to see Linus Ullmark struggle in net against Montreal. I think that guy from a upside perspective does have that in terms of being able to score a goal, being able to keep the puck out of the net, I should say, Linus Ullmark. And he had a tough night in Montreal. So you're probably going to expect the Buffalo Sabres to get back to Carter Hutton today for this game in net against the Vancouver Canucks. I'll tell you what, right now, Vancouver, can they do it again? That's the question. I mean, to me, Vancouver is always worth a look at prices like this as long as they're playing with this level of effort, with this level of execution offensively, which they've had. They're always dangerous. They're putting the puck in the net. That makes you a dangerous team in this kind of price range. I talked about it. They do have some defensive liabilities. They've still got maybe some shaky goaltending at times, but in this price range, it's a one-way game for me. It's Vancouver or pass. I'd look at them at the plus 145 price. Might be worth a small look. I'll probably have some kind of bet on Vancouver. Why not? I mean, they've won 4 of their last 5, play good hockey. Even I think their road record's not too bad. 5-5 on the road. That's not bad at all. And you look at their recent series history in Buffalo. They've played very well in Buffalo in recent years. Last 2 seasons, Vancouver's made the trip to Buffalo. They've won both games by a score of 4-2. I think Vancouver's probably worth a small shot here. I took a small shot with them against Boston the other night just because I thought over plus 200 with the way they had been playing, the effort they had been given was just too much, and it proved out to be that way. I'll come right back and roll the dice once again here with Vancouver, plus 145. I think, again, as long as they're playing this well and scoring the goals they are, makes them a very live team on a nightly basis. Early start, maybe they clamp down defensively after a wild 8-5 game. So maybe a lean to the under, but I will be on Vancouver here for some kind of bet against Buffalo. Just playing too well, and the price to me more than good enough to endorse a team that's got a lot of confidence right now. Chicago, Philadelphia, talk about teams that don't have confidence. The Blackhawks, my goodness. Philadelphia minus 130 to minus 135 home favorites, total 6 across the board. Yeah, that was a red flag all the way to me to see the way the Chicago Blackhawks came out of the gate on Thursday night against the Carolina Panthers. Or not Carolina Hurricanes, getting my sports mixed up. Carolina Hurricanes, they came out of the gate very, very sluggish. They looked disengaged, making mistakes, penalties, bad defense. Well, bad defense has been a staple of the Blackhawks all season. But to have that kind of lethargic effort in their game with the coaching change, first game for Jeremy Colleton after Joe Quenneville gets fired, makes me think Joe Quenneville meant a lot more to that dressing room than people thought. And maybe it's not going to be as easy for some of these players to turn the page and move on post-Coach Q. That looked like a team that was still, almost like staggered by the news that Joe Quenneville got fired because they didn't. That was a horrendous first period for them. They got behind 3-0. They actually got behind 4-0. Fell behind even further early in the second period. And then finally, it took really Corey Crawford snapping his goal stick in half to really have the tide turned in that hockey game. Chicago started to battle back. I give him credit for battling back, but why didn't you have that kind of effort at the start of the game? Why weren't you ready to go at the start of the game? As Mike Babcock always says, start on time. They didn't start on time. The Chicago Blackhawks on Thursday night, and they paid the price for it. They came back to make it 4-3, but not good enough. What more can you say about Chicago defensively? They've been a train wreck there. It's been hard for them to keep the puck out of their own net. And offensively, during this now 6-game losing streak for the Blackhawks, it's been a struggle. It's not been, the offense has not been able to come as easily for them as it did earlier in the season. Philadelphia Flyers, I mean, give them credit. Much to my chagrin, being on Arizona the other night, 4-2 deficit, third period, they erase it, tie the game, and then win in overtime, 5-4 against the Arizona Coyotes. So that gives them wins in the back-to-back against Arizona. 4 of the last 5 now the Flyers have won. And we know this is a streaky team. We know last year they were streaky. The year before they were streaky. Team that's capable of going on a 6-game losing and a 6-game winning streak. That's really what you've gotten from the Philadelphia Flyers the last couple of seasons. So it's going to be interesting to see how if they can keep this up, keep this run going. I know Giroux has really sprung to life as of late, 5 points in the last 2 games for him. Jake Voracek has really gotten going. Sean Couturier has 5 points in the last 5 games as well. And Oscar Lindblom's really a guy that's got some upside, a young prospect for this Flyers team that's starting to chip in offensively as well. 5-game point streak for him as well, 2 goals, 5 assists. So offensively, the Flyers are starting to put the puck in the net, starting to produce, and are in good form. You look at them, 3 goals or more put on the board by Philadelphia in each of their last 5 games. They've gone to the over 4 straight games. Chicago having a hard time keeping the puck out of their net. That's an understatement. 4 goals to Vancouver, 4 goals to Edmonton, 5 to Calgary, 4 to Carolina. Not very good defense on one side, really good offense on the other side. Like I say, I took Chicago the other night. It's that just knee-jerk, take the team first game after they fire the coach. Didn't work out, and that's a red flag. And the way they started that game is a red flag. So maybe this team's just not going to respond immediately to a coaching change like so many do. So to me, I've got to look over the total in this game. It's 6, and it's an afternoon game. That can sometimes be a concern for higher scoring hockey. Sometimes it's a little sluggish when you have these early starts, but I don't trust Chicago's defensively right now. Philadelphia is putting the puck in the net. Chicago can still chip in offensively. It's not like Philadelphia's great shakes defensively. They showed it the other night against Arizona, 4 goals allowed. Very interesting to see who's in net because Brian Elliott's been dealing with an injury. Although I believe, he came into the game on Thursday. He relieved Calvin Pickard in that game Thursday night, and that's really where the momentum changed and went toward Philadelphia when they brought him in. So I'd expect he's going to be good enough to go here in this game this afternoon. Corey Crawford struggling, no question. Corey Crawford, now the defense in front of him has been terrible. I think a lot of it's more them than him, but he has allowed 6 goals in 4 starts. Or he's allowed 18 goals rather in his last 4 starts, going 0-4 in that span. Does Jeremy Colton give Cam Ward a shot today? That's the question. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to probably go over the total, though. In spite of the afternoon start, I think we'll see goals in that game. Hawks Flyers over 6, the way I'd play it. Staying out of it from a side perspective. Philly is never a team I'm comfortable with laying a moderate price with. -135 is not a terrible price. And they have been playing better lately, but so many times Philadelphia, when they're expected to win, they don't. And this is a game they probably should win. They're expected to win. They should win it, but I'm not comfortable playing $1.35. That being said, I'd take the Flyers before I take the Hawks. Nashville, Dallas. Nashville -140 on the road, total 5.5 across the board. Man, I made the mistake going against Nashville Wednesday night against Colorado. Colorado playoff revenge. Colorado off since 2 tough losses by a goal against Calgary and Vancouver last week. And Nashville still took care of business. Now, there were 2 goals called back, 2 goals that were overturned, 2 potential Colorado goals that were overturned in that game. Frustrating for the Avs for sure. But Nashville was the better of these 2 teams. If you're an Avalanche fan or an Avalanche bettor on that Wednesday night game, you can't, moan and groan over losing that bet. Nashville outshot Colorado for the most part, outplayed Colorado for the most part, deserved to win that game. They're still perfect on the road. This team has not lost a road game yet this year. The Nashville Predators, 7-0 on the road. We're going to talk about another team later in the card that hasn't lost a road game either this season. Nashville's one of those teams. I mean, I'm done going against them, plain and simple. And Pekka Rinne, let's give him credit. He has been not just good, he has been downright stupendous in net for the Predators since returning from that injury. 949 save percentage for him. Outstanding numbers for the Finn in net. 1.55 goals against average. Making some big-time saves as well. Looks revitalized, and I guess that's what happens when you're a guy of his age who's played the number of games that he's played. When you're injured, the bad news is you're hurt, you can't play. The good news is you get some downtime, you get some rest, you get a chance to recharge your batteries and really feel fresh and well rested the next time you go in net. And that's pretty much the kind of way Pekka Rinne is playing right now for Nashville. He looks refreshed, reinvigorated, and boy, he's playing like it right now in net. Now, can he keep it going indefinitely? No, there'll be a Pekka Rinne moment or two where he looks human again and it gives up a couple soft goals. It'll happen. It's Pekka Rinne. He's always going to be prone to moments like that. But right now, he's playing very, very well for this team, and this team overall is playing extremely good hockey. They haven't lost on the road. Dallas finally got off the schneid. They've been playing inconsistently. Lost the last two games of their road trip, bounced back with a 4-3 win against San Jose. We'll see if that can get things going for them in the other direction. It's been definitely up and down for Dallas this season, no question, for Jim Montgomery in his first season. 9-7 so far. We'll see if they can continue the homestand in good form, but obviously not going to be easy to knock off this Nashville team the way they're going. So, yeah, I thought it was a good spot, good setup to go against Nashville Wednesday night. It didn't work out. There's no way I'm going back to the well against Nashville anytime soon. Again, they just keep playing very, very good hockey, no question. Not going to lay – it's a steep price on the road with Nashville, not a bargain by any stretch, 140 in that range. But I'd lean Nashville still. I mean, Dallas, they got to show it to you 2 games in a row. It was Hudobin in net, by the way, against San Jose the other night. So you would think they'd go back to Ben Bishop here in this game. But Dallas, we're waiting for some of these offensive guns to step up. Devin Shore's a guy that can step up offensively for them. He certainly has of late. They're going to have to because Alexander Radulov's still on IR with a lower body injury, and that's a big absence for the Stars offensively. So it's going to be up to other guys to really have to step in and get the job done and be able to move and be able to put the puck in the net. We'll see if they're able to do that here in this game against the Nashville Predators. But again, Nashville playing too well. Again, when undefeated on the road, not exactly in any rush to fade them at this particular point in time. All right, next up we've got, as I take a look here, Detroit taking on Carolina. Carolina about minus 240 to minus 245 as home favorites in this game. Massive chalk. The total 6 shaded to the under. The rest of these games, by the way, are all night games on this Saturday card. Detroit Red Wings, give them a ton of credit. They were left for dead against the Rangers last night, and they battled back to win that game by a score of 3-2. They're all of a sudden the Red Wings, who started out miserably this season, I believe they were 1-7, 1-8 at the beginning of the season. They're all of a sudden 6 wins now. It's been a really, really under the radar, and I mean really under the radar run for this Detroit team. They're 5-1 in their last 6 games. They did beat some decent teams too during that run. They beat Dallas, decent team. Columbus, pretty good team. New Jersey's struggling right now. There's no question. Defensively, they've been an absolute sieve, the Devils, for the last couple of games. But they did beat them. Give them credit for that. 4-3 loss to Edmonton, 1 goal loss. And then they beat Vancouver in a shootout, and then they beat the Rangers in overtime last night. They got Franz Nielsen and Andreas Athanasiou back in the lineup. Certainly 2 guys that can help this team from an offensive perspective. And certainly they were able to do that and should be able to do that moving forward here for the Detroit Red Wings. You kind of like what you're seeing. Jimmy Howard's actually stepped up, played some good hockey in net for this team as well during this run. So give the Red Wings credit, playing well. Carolina, on the other hand, they finally salvaged a win on the road trip that really didn't go well for them. Lost 4-3 at Arizona, lost 3-0 at Vegas, 4-1 at St. Louis, part of a 5-game losing streak that they snapped against the Chicago Blackhawks, although they had to hang on for very, very dear life in that game to beat Chicago on Thursday night. Hawks made a very, very good run to try to come back and tie that hockey game, and just fell short. Came very close to tying it up. Really had some pressure, but Carolina able to hold on and get the win in that game. Again, we're waiting for Sebastian Aho has had a little bit of a struggle of late, waiting for him to come around. Michael Furland, a guy that's actually leading Carolina in goals with 7, may not play in this game. He missed the third period against Detroit. May not be ready to go tonight. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I'll tell you what, I'm not laying this price with Carolina. It's a tough spot off a long road trip. They did get a win. It's a momentum builder going into this game. Probably gives them some confidence. Wouldn't surprise me to see Carolina win, but I'm not in any rush to lay this price with them, especially with the way Detroit's going now. It's the second night of back-to-back games for Detroit. Not the greatest situation for them. And they did lose their one and only time they played the second night of back-to-backs this season, the Detroit Red Wings. But it's a no-brainer for me. If I were to bet a side on this game, I'd have to take a chance with Detroit, plus 200. Carolina's just way, 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 way overpriced here, especially when they get, for the most part, marginal goaltending on a nightly basis. The thing that might end up keep holding this team back when it's all said and done, because I like the defense. I like Dougie Hamilton being on that defense now, Justin Falk. There's some good blue liners on this Carolina team. Offensively, they've got, I think, upgraded it, even though it hasn't shown lately. I think they have a chance still down the road to get this offense going and be pretty solid. Their goaltending still a massive question mark for me. It really is. I mean, Scott Darling, a guy you don't know what you're going to get night to night. Peter Mrazek, a guy you don't know what you're going to get night to night. Curtis McElhinney, good season last year, but not quite as good so far this year. So, again, lots of question marks in that when you're talking about this team, and that's definitely a concern of mine moving forward with Carolina, especially in price ranges where they're 1 to 2 favorite like this. It's not a price range that I'm the least bit comfortable backing Carolina in. So not the greatest spot for Detroit. Maybe Carolina gets a little boost of adrenaline, energy from finally snapping the losing streak the other night, and they are better probably than Detroit. But this price, I could only back Detroit. Maybe worth a little sprinkle or two to take the Red Wings here, considering they, again, 5-1 for them, their last 6. Rangers taking on Columbus. We've got no line here in this game. It's a back-to-back for Columbus, a nice 2-1 win for them last night against the Washington Capitals. Playoff revenge for them. Washington dealing with no John Carlson, who was a late scratch in that hockey game. Didn't play. They ended up winning that game. The Columbus Blue Jackets getting the job done. And now we'll be looking to carry it over here to this game against the New York Rangers back home. 2 wins in a row now for the Jackets. Rangers, tough overtime loss last night against the Detroit Red Wings at a 2-0 lead. Could not make it hold up. Definitely a concern for them. We could have backup goalies here in this game. We know Sergei Bobrovsky was in net last night. Joonas Korpisalo is likely to get the call, I would think, for Columbus, with this being the second of back-to-backs. He's 4-0-1 overall record-wise. Record-wise, it'll show you he's probably doing well. His numbers, though, are not good. He's gotten some goal support in a lot of his starts. 8.84 save percentage. He has one of the worst goals saved above average, a great metric for goaltending and how well you're playing as a goalie. One of the worst goals saved above average numbers in the NHL belong to Joonas Korpisalo. So it's not a guy I trust right now. He's not in very good form. He's allowed 4 goals in 3 of his 4 wins, and he's allowed at least 3 goals in 5 of his 6 starts so far this season. On the flip side, you may be looking at Alexander Georgiev in net for the New York Rangers. Georgiev should be in net tonight. Lundqvist in the pipes last night against Detroit. Maybe an over in this game because you don't trust any goalie. Rangers in Columbus. We'll see where this total comes out. I'm certainly looking in that direction when it comes to the Rangers-Columbus game tonight, especially if we get Korpisalo for Columbus and Georgiev in net for the New York Rangers. Definitely a possibility that if we see that goaltending matchup, there'll be a pretty good possibility we'll see goals as well. I mean, again, Korpisalo, 3.8 goals against, 8.84 save percentage. Georgiev, 3.6 goals against average, 8.97 save percentage. So you've got 2 backup goalies, two guys that I don't trust, two guys that have terrible numbers so far this season. Yeah, definitely will have some interest in the over in this game. Even though the Rangers aren't exactly lighting it up, and even though Columbus isn't exactly lighting it up, and even though they played a lot better defensively lately, not all, good defense can't always mask mediocre to bad goaltending, and we might see some mediocre bad goaltending tonight if those two guys get in net for these two teams. So interested definitely in that game over the total. Islanders, Florida. Florida minus 175, home favorites, total 6 shade to the under. I think the buy sign's there in Florida right now. They got Roberto Luongo back. They played a great game against Edmonton, 4-1, deserved the win. They outplayed the Oilers. They won their last game. They won the game before that, their last game in Finland, the second game against Winnipeg last week. It was Roberto Luongo's debut. The first game, well, not debut. He got injured very early in the season. In his return for Luongo, they beat Winnipeg. They followed it up, even in a tough spot where they've been off for a week. You're worried that maybe they're not sharp. They're a little rusty. They haven't played a game in a week. No, they played very well against Edmonton. Great effort. It looked like a desperate team. It looks like a team playing with some purpose because they know they gotten off to a rotten start. A lot of that was some bad defense. Goaltending from James Reimer and Michael Hutchinson just wasn't very good for Florida. That didn't help either. Now they got Luongo back. And Luongo, you can say what you want about him. He has his odd moment of inconsistency as well. He's battled injuries. He's an older goalie now. Still the best goalie on this Florida Panthers roster. There's no argument, no debate there. It's not an issue. He's the best they've got, no question. He's certainly proven that the last couple of games that he's been in between the pipes for the Florida Panthers, getting them wins in each of his first two starts since returning from that injury. New York Islanders, again, this team for the most part, New York, they're in games, they're battling most nights, have a chance to win most of these hockey games, but just came up a little bit short against the Tampa Bay Lightning the other night, but a great effort considering the way Tampa Bay's been playing, especially the way they've been scoring lately. The Lightning, all of their big guns have really had a nice little run. Stamkos and Kucherov, and Lightning, Islanders battled Tampa to a standstill in that game. In fact, they outshot the Islanders. They outshot the Lightning rather, 37-27, but end up losing that game 4-2. Two losses in a row for the Islanders coming into this game. They lost to Montreal in a shootout the game before that, and those two losses on the heels of what was a 5-game winning streak before that for the New York Islanders. Gotta give them credit. They played, for the most part, better defensively this season. Still ways to go. Still not an elite team at the defensive end. But boy, you cannot deny they have made strides in terms of doing a better job keeping the puck out of their own net. And that's definitely helped them to improve. The key for them is going to be, can you keep getting your offense to contribute? Because obviously, with their old captain, John Tavares, gone, it's not going to be as easy. Teams are now going to focus their attention defensively on Matthew Barzal, and you could sort of see him struggling to deal with that. He's had a little bit of a quiet start to the season, playing on that top line with Josh Bailey and Anders Lee. Brock Nelson's been pretty good. Jordan Eberle's actually started to get going offensively, but Valtteri Filppula and Leo Komarov and Casey Cizikas, fourth liner, has been a massive contributor offensively lately for the New York Islanders as well. So, and Leonard and Greiss and net have given them a chance most nights. So again, at this kind of price range, you're often tempted by looking at the not the Carolina Hurricanes, the New York Islanders here. They've been a tough out most nights. But Florida, to me, they look like they might be about to go on a run. Because I said going into the season, and I know Jimmy Murphy said it, I think Alex or Andrew said it, Florida Panthers have a chance to be a pretty good hockey team this year. What they need is some good defense. What they need is Roberto Luongo back, and because they've got the talent up front. We've said that all season about Florida. They've got a great forward group, plenty of game breakers, plenty of guys that can put a puck in the net for you. Evgeny Dadonov, Barkov, Mike Hoffman, they got him from Ottawa, Huberto, Vincent Trocheck, Nick Bukestad. It is a very good team offensively up front. They just need the defense to be solid, get some stops from their goalie, and Luongo's given them that. I got a sense this team can put a 6, 7, 8-game win streak together, 8-1 run, 9-2 run, something like that. This Florida team, I think right now, what I've seen the last couple games, they've got that kind of run in them, and I think as a result, I'm not in any rush to bet against them. I know they're laying a hefty number here, minus 175, but no, not interested in the I think Florida might go on a little bit of a run here. They've underachieved early. They weren't getting saves early in the year. started to play better defensively. They're starting finally to get that penalty kill fixed, still scoring goals as we've seen the last few games. I think Florida's got a little bit of a hot streak in them. It's only 2 in a row so far, but I get that sense they're starting to put some things together. Won't be going against the Florida Panthers tonight. May not be going against them at least anytime in the very near future. All right, little coffee break here, or not a coffee break, not like a 10-minute break or anything, but just a break so I can get a little sip in. All right, there we go. Back at it. Here we go. Ottawa, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, minus 310 to minus 320. 6.5 to the under at minus 120 in this game. Look, it's 6.5, and that's, obviously it's the only 6.5 on the board today, but it's Ottawa involved. That's why. And Ottawa's pulling every team over the total right now. I wasn't convinced their game against Vegas the other night would go over the total, considering just how inept and putrid defensively, or offensively, I should say, how putrid offensively the Vegas Golden Knights have been this season. But still, Ottawa pulls you into an over. That's just what they do. And they did it against Vegas the other night. That game cruises over the total of 5.5 in that game. Vegas gets the win. Any talk about that Ottawa team digging in, rallying the troops around the Uber incident, the Uber video incident earlier this week? Well, it lasted one game. They got one game out of it against New Jersey where they bared down, where they played good. They rallied rallied around each other, got a great win, great effort. I was wondering, is this the start of maybe them rallying together and going on a run, or is that just a blip, one-off, for them to beat New Jersey? Oh, it was a one-off because they didn't play well at all defensively again against Vegas, gave up 42 shots, gave up 2 power play goals. So there you go. We're talking about Marty Raymond, the team bashing him, bashing the penalty kill, and penalty kill gives up 2 power play goals in the 2 attempts that Vegas has with the man advantage in that game. So clearly, the Uber video didn't make Marty Raymond better. Didn't make the players respond to him more. They're still having trouble killing penalties. They're still having trouble keeping the puck out of their own net as a whole. I'm not betting Ottawa under the total. Plain and simple. I don't care that this is 6.5. I mean, it's obviously a question of value. Are you getting value on the over now at 6.5? Maybe not, but you're holding your life in your hands. You're holding the fate of your bankroll in your hands at this point. I think trying to bet an under involving this Ottawa Senators team right now. I mean, it is just one high-scoring game after another from this group. And to me, you're looking for this team to bear down defensively after what happened with the players criticizing their defensive play and criticizing the coaches for not coaching well defensively or not coaching their penalty kill well enough. It hasn't really worked. I mean, it worked for a little bit against New Jersey, and then they went right back to same old Sens. Can't keep a puck out of their net to save their lives in that game against Vegas. So I think Tampa Bay could do some serious damage here in this game. Talked about how the Lightning and a lot of their big guns are firing right now for them and putting the puck in the net and producing, whether it's Yanni Gourde, whether it's Braden Point, whether it's Tyler Johnson, whether it's Nikita Kucherov. Stamkos has been scoring lately. Everybody has for this Tampa Bay team. 4 goals plus for the Lightning in each of their last 4 games. Lighting the lamp offensively, doing it with regularity. And you look at Tampa Bay, Ottawa, one over after another in the recent head-to-head series. 5-0 to the over in the last 5 meetings between the Lightning and the Senators. 4-3, 6-3, 4-3, 7-4, 4-3, your final scores. And the common thread with all of those 5 games that went over the last 5 meetings, 7 or more total goals in each game, which would be good enough to clear this 6.5 number that you're seeing in this game. And one of those games was just a week ago in Ottawa. Tampa Bay winning 4-3 in overtime. I believe that was last Sunday night in Ottawa. Rematch here tonight in Tampa. I got to go over 6.5 plus 100. Again, 3-3, cash your ticket. Can Ottawa get you 3 goals? They can. Ottawa, believe it or not, is a top 10 team in scoring in the NHL this season. They've been absolutely terrific. Put in the puck in the net, the Ottawa Senators. It's keeping it out of their net that's been an issue. They're averaging 3.44 goals scored per game, Ottawa. They're finding some offense. It's defensively where they've been just a sieve. So, again, you've got a strong over history between these two teams. You had a 4-3 game just last week between the Sens and Lightning. Lightning in good offensive form, Sens in terrible defensive form. Uh, I got to go over 6.5 here, plus 100, plain and simple. I mean, sometimes you can't overthink it. Sometimes you can't overcomplicate it. And we'll have to, I'm going to go over 6.5. I don't know if it's going to be best bet material, but worth a look. Good point from in the chat. Depends on who's in net. Vasilevsky's been a little bit not bad. He hasn't been bad, but he's not been as sharp the last week and a bit after his strong start to the season. So even if he's in net, I think Ottawa can score. Doesn't matter who Ottawa's got in net. I mean, Craig Anderson, it's not his fault. I think it's terrible play in front of him, and it will be Craig Anderson in net for this game. It has been confirmed. It is Anderson in between the pipes for the Sens, but it's not his fault. I mean, he's got terrible play in front of him, bad penalty kill in front of him. I mean, he's doing all he can. There's been games this season where the Ottawa Senators, to be honest, the only reason they've been in the game is because Craig Anderson's been good. I mean, I think of the Buffalo game at home a few weeks ago. They only won that game because Anderson stood on his head. So I think the problems are not Anderson. It's the players in front of him. It's the Donis in front of him who are just not playing great defensively at all for this hockey team. But, yeah, over 6.5 plus 100 is the way I got to look in that game. A good one here. Toronto-Boston. Leafs taking on the Bruins. Boston minus 165. Home favorites. Total 6 across the board. Toronto, another one of those undefeated road teams. Talked about Nashville, undefeated on the road. So are the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have yet to drop a road game this year. 6-0 on the road. Played their best hockey on the road. They've beaten some really good teams throughout the season on the road. Pittsburgh, although Pittsburgh's not playing great now. Winnipeg, they played some good teams on the road and won those games. Toronto looking to keep their perfect road record intact tonight in Boston. Leafs laid absolute waste last night to the New Jersey Devils in the Hall of Fame game at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. It's definitely a team that's, and for the Leafs, what's great to see for them and what should give them confidence moving forward is that they finally got the offense going. We were waiting for the Leafs to break out, have that game offensively where, hey, this looks like the Toronto Maple Leafs again. This looks like the high-powered, dynamic, and explosive offense that we were expecting this season. And certainly they have shown it so far, or they showed it last night against a New Jersey team that apparently all of a sudden has forgotten to play any lick of defense. I mean, to see the Devils just, it looked like a fire drill on their own end throughout the entire night. I mean, it looked like Barnum and Bailey circus in front of Keith Kincaid during that hockey game last night. I mean, couldn't clear pucks out, giving pucks away, not tracking players in the offensive zone, tracking forwards, leaving them wide open for open looks at the net. I don't know what's happened in New Jersey. That's now 2 games in a row against Ottawa and Toronto. They've looked absolutely horrendous. Puck management's been poor. Defensive play's been poor. And Toronto took advantage of that and just absolutely ran away with it against the Devils last night. So does that maybe make you less impressed with Toronto and what they did offensively in that game? Perhaps. But the fact they finally had one of those 7-goal outburst kind of games, that's got to be a shot of adrenaline and confidence for this team that's really had a tough time scoring goals consistently since Austin Matthews has been out. But Mitch Marner continues to be phenomenal for this team, nearing 20 points on the season already. Incredible from him. One of the best players. He is now, right now, the way he's played, one of the best players in the NHL. You can't deny it right now with the way he's played for the Leafs. They keep it going here against Boston. This is a very, very tricky game for me because at this price, how do you bet against Toronto when they're undefeated on the road, getting this kind of price on the road against Boston? But, Bruins should be – I expect Bruins A game tonight. I mean, they lost 8-5 to Vancouver. Bad game from them. Bad game for Jaro Halak. Jaro Halak's been the story of the season early on, led the league in save percentage going into Thursday night. Well, that save percentage took a little bit of a hit against the Vancouver Canucks. He will be the starting goaltender at least for the next few games. Bruins granted Tuukka Rask a personal leave of absence to attend to something, so he will not be with the team for a few games. Not that that's a big deal. Rask had been struggling. Now, is this the start of a downfall for Halak? Is this the start of the bad things to come for him? Can he get back on track? That's the question mark. Tonight we'll find out. Can you get back to the goalie you were before the Vancouver game, or is the Vancouver start a prelude of potentially some struggles to come for the Slovakian netminder Jaroslav Halak? So a great litmus test, so to speak, for him tonight against a Toronto team that got their offense going finally last night against New Jersey. Very, very fascinating game. I don't have a real strong opinion either way because I think Boston's going to play good and play hard. You know, you lose the way you did against Vancouver. Patrice Bergeron called out his team defensively for that performance against Vancouver. So maybe they bear down defensively. Maybe you get an under out of this game. Who knows? But finally, the Leaf streak of unders broke last night. What was it? 10 straight unders, something like that for Toronto. Finally, a Toronto game goes over the total. Last night, Toronto goes over the total by themselves. It's even tough to bet under because maybe that gets Toronto's offense going and they start to put the puck in the net with more regularity and getting more used to being without Austin Matthews as well in these last couple of games against Vegas and New Jersey, those 2 games they won. So Leafs starting to come out of their funk, starting to get going offensively. It's an undefeated road team getting plus 145 on the road. That's awfully, awfully tempting in this game. But it is back-to-back. It is Boston off a terrible home effort against Vancouver, and you would expect their best as well in this game. So it's a tough call for me, and one I'm going to stay out of in this game altogether. Let's get Andrew McGinnis in here. We finally got someone to join me here for this Saturday show. Andrew, good morning to you. We're down from basically the top of the card to the Toronto game. So my voice needs a rest. You can have 6 minutes to talk right now. Any games between the top of the card and down to the Leaf Bruin game that you want to talk about that you have a betting opinion on here for this Saturday card?
Geez, Ian, I could imagine you're probably just going nonstop for the past 40 minutes, man. The second I came home and saw that you were by yourself, I said, geez, I still got to jump on, better late than never. So dealing with some personal things myself. But when I came on here, I saw you just going off on pretty much every game. I had to hop on here and give some opinions. So I'll start with one here, Ian, and I'm curious to hear what you had to say about this one. But the Philadelphia game versus the Chicago Blackhawks, as we all know, Chicago, the firing of Coach Q and that performance they put up afterwards, it wasn't really the performance we wanted, the emotional performance you'd want to have after a team gets fires their coach, and you want to see them spark something whatsoever. But of course, that loss to Carolina, that really. A really bad start for that game as well for them. They came off to a really bad start defensively, and they didn't really seem motivated. I mean, they're 0-5 again, their last 5 straight up, but they're also going over the total a lot. They're also allowing a lot of goals. So for a team that was able to score quite a bit early in the season and spark their offense, they don't seem to have that consistency on their defensive side, and that's what's really hurting this team because, let's face it, their goaltending isn't the most elite goaltending in the league, and that worries me quite a bit. So as far as that game goes, I'm going to keep fading Chicago. I think that sooner rather than later, they're going to have to step things up and get a good win, but it's not going to be against this Flyers team, which is a team that I really personally trust the most at home as well. So, looking at that team, I think personally, Ian, this Flyers team is underachieved. I really like the Flyers. I think they're an offensive, talented team. I mean, they defensively let themselves down on a nightly basis, and that's why they're a good team to take on the over as well. But just the weapons that they have with Konechny, Giroux, Voracek. I always mention this guy, but I'm a huge fan of Simmons. He's down there on the third line right winger. But he could be so much higher. He could be so much higher. He could be a second or first line. He'd be doing so much more on a lot of teams. So I would look to take Philadelphia as one of my plays here earlier on. And I'm going to continue to ride the Vancouver overs. I mean, I had a lean with that with the Vancouver-Boston game on our last episode with the Ice Guys. And it's listed as 6 here. And, Buffalo's been a team that I've had circled as an over team as well. Their goaltending has been very shaky to me. And we got to give Vancouver credit when they deserve it. I mean, let's face it. Elias Pettersson had 5 points in one of their biggest explosions of offensive games. I mean, he's the one that's been the guy that's been leading them offensively. He came back from injury, and all of a sudden he makes an immediate impact. But we got to give credit to, Louis Eriksson. This is a guy that was lighting up the score sheet. Jake Virtanen, Bo Horvat. Those guys are, Marcus Grenlund. These guys are finally stepping things up and making an impact personally on the score sheet. And to me, that's what really is going to be making this Vancouver team a little more elite and keep that kind of shocker factor continuing with them this year. Because let's face it, we didn't think they'd be able to put up that massive amount of goals that they are so far this year. I mean, Ian, that was an absolute. I'm curious to go back, rewind, and look to see what Mr. Ian Cameron had to say about this Boston performance on defense because it was atrocious. I mean, And I know, a couple of us were, Jamie was on the under and he liked the Bruins as well. And I could see that. Halak's also a good goaltender. He's been playing hot. And you'd think, part of me would thought this too, but you'd think that they'd come out with a good defensive performance after what happened to them after they played in Vancouver. And I don't, you know what? I do base my handicapping off that sometimes, because if you get embarrassed on your West Coast road trip playing Vancouver, you better have a really big warm welcome to them when they come to your building at TD Garden and have a good defensive performance. And that's pretty much the exact opposite of what this Boston Bruins team did. That over, pretty much Vancouver cashed it on their own. It's a high scoring game. So anyway, look to see Buffalo and Vancouver go over the total. So that's one of my favorite plays in that early card. And fast forwarding down, I think when I popped in here just before that, actually, you were talking about Ottawa, Tampa Bay, I believe. And yeah, I feel the exact same way that you mentioned. They're a team that I have circled as a team that I am not going to look to bet under whatsoever in the past, the next couple games. I think that if Vegas can score 5 goals on them, Ian, anybody can. This is a team that was struggling to score on the road. I mentioned it last episode. They're 1-5 on the road. I believe they were averaging, 2.2 goals per game, maybe around that ballpark on the road, something like that. Maybe it was even worse. And all of a sudden they put up an easy 5 spot on this Ottawa team. And, that's the thing. Ottawa, you can count on them, Ian, to net a couple goals every now and then. You can count on that supporting cast. And, of course, the whole Uber situation, we didn't really know how the team would respond. Well, they responded with a couple goals early on, but they didn't respond defensively whatsoever. So, to me, that's honestly one of the best plays on the night. Keep riding that. If we always remind you guys here when we're on this show about trends. And it's not like we're saying always go find the most basic trend, follow it, track it till it dies, like that Columbus first period over. But with Ottawa right now, they can't play a lick of defense. And this Tampa Bay team, who's massive minus 300 favorites, so you don't want to touch the side at all, whether it's puck line or anything, in my opinion. You want to ride either a team total for Tampa or you want to take the over in the full game. This one's going to be, this one could be a 4-2 game by the second period. This is going to be a sloppy, messy, offensive piled game with fast pace and pretty much no defensive pressure in my eyes. So as far as those games go, I'm really, really liking the over in that one. And of course, now we got to talk about Toronto-Boston, which is a game I'm not sure. I think you just covered at the end right before. Yeah. So looking at this one right here, and this is one I find really, really interesting because it's two teams that, of course, as we've always seen them meet the first round of the playoffs, or we've seen them kind of crush the dreams of the Maple Leafs. But we got to think, the Toronto Maple Leafs, after Austin Matthews got injured, they back-to-back games directly afterwards scored 1 goal in each of those games. So to me, that was embarrassing. That was it was a, hey, look, guys, we're a one-man team kind of thing, and that was disappointing. They proved to the league that they were really flustered. Let's not forget they're also missing William Nylander, and I'm happy you mentioned Marner because I've been talking about him quite a bit as well, and I've been really high on him. And I think that in this game here, after the performance that we saw from the Boston Bruins defensively, and from what we know about these two teams combined, the normal aspect would be to take the over between these two high-powered offensive teams. From what we've seen from at least the Boston Bruins, don't have a great defensive core right now. They let themselves down on a nightly basis. It's not just their defense, really. It's the forwards not back checking. But besides, you got Torrey Krug and Zdeno Chara, and who else do you really like up there? I mean, Brandon Carlo, a top defensive pairing, John Moore. These guys, I don't really trust them. I don't think these guys are elite whatsoever. And they're too slow. They spend too much time carrying the puck in their own end, and it's really a shame. So look, ultimately for me, look under in this one. If there's ever a time that you look at a team that's embarrassed, and I use that word very cautiously, a team that gets embarrassed defensively like the Boston Bruins did, they've got a high-powered team like the Leafs coming in. Look at maybe even the first period under 1.5. I would never usually say this kind of stuff, Ian, with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins matching up, but sometimes it's going to have to be a tight matchup. And, with the way these two teams are playing right now, I would look under the total, not touching the side, under the total. And that's going to be my official play. I'll send it back to you here, Ian. We'll get some back and forth going, but those are a couple of my few plays here. Again, just to recap, the Vancouver-Buffalo game, over 6. Chicago on the money line. Of course, in Tampa Bay, Ottawa, over the 6.5, and Toronto-Boston under the 6 number.
All right, very good. Yeah, I agree with a couple of those. I took Vancouver plus price in that game against Buffalo. Neutral on the total, but definitely has a chance to go over. Chicago, Philly over 6. What else did I give out? Rangers, Columbus. We have a total with that one, 5.5. Yeah, give me the over. Well, let's see what the goalies are first. I think it's going to be Korpisalo against Georgiev, and if it's Korpisalo against Georgiev in net, 5.5. Got to jump on that over the total for sure. In that, and that's despite the fact Columbus has played very good defensively the last few games. They really have, but like I say, bad defense, good defense can't always mask terrible goaltending. And I don't trust Korpisalo. He's been terrible lately. Georgiev equally untrustworthy on the other side, and that total's 5.5. So I got to still go over the total there. And like Andrew, I like Ottawa, Tampa Bay over 6.5 as well. Toronto, Boston, nothing for me there. We move on to Arizona, Pittsburgh. Last 3 games, Pittsburgh minus 210, 6 the total. I'm done back in Arizona with Darcy Kemper. That's basically it after what I saw the other night with him. Not good. They don't play as well. They seem a little bit frazzled, just a little bit shaky. The one thing about Arizona, they play pretty good, sturdy defense. They look a little shaky in that regard when it's Darcy Kemper as opposed to Antti Raanta back there. And of course, Ranta's still on the IR, won't be back for at least the next couple of games. So as much as I would still only back Arizona at this price, but I'm not going to tonight. Pittsburgh's got to turn it around at some point, do they not? I mean, this terrible run they've gone on has just continued and continued. Lost to New Jersey at home. They did deserve better against Washington. They really did. They lost that game to the Capitals 2-1, badly outchanced them, dominated territorially, outshot the Capitals 42-22. That's at least a sign that even though they still lost that game, it's still a sign that maybe things are coming around. Crosby was noticeable. He had a ton of chances, probably could have had 2 goals himself in that game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think he had Pittsburgh's only goal in that game, which came on the power play. Signs that Pittsburgh's turning it around. I get the feeling they win this game, Pittsburgh, and finally get off the schneid. But there's no way in hell, no way. On my laying 200-210 with how much they've struggled, especially on home ice. But this is a game they should win. There's a goaltender that's had a little rough time of it these last 2 games for Arizona in Darcy Kemper against the Flyers. Maybe a chance to get things rolling for Pittsburgh. Over the total, maybe, if you want to be proactive, saying Pittsburgh's drought offensively can't go on forever, this has to be the night that they get it going. Maybe you look over the total. We know Arizona's been good to score goals lately. Their offense has come to life the last week or two. So maybe you play over the total in this game, but not a game I have a strong thought on. Again, I'm not really in love with back in Arizona right now with what I've seen from Kemper the last 2 games. Much prefer Raanta in net. We're not going to see that for the Coyotes for at least a couple of games. Andrew, any thoughts here? Coyotes and Penguins in the Berg tonight.
Yeah, this is an interesting game for me because, from a blanket matchup standpoint, despite all the history of these 2 teams and, the greatness that the Pittsburgh Penguins have had throughout the past couple of years and standings wise, if you base this matchup off of just how you've seen these 2 teams play over the past couple of games or maybe the past even month, Arizona would be a competitive team. The line wouldn't be what it is right now. And, as well as I do, Ian, that plus 185 is a lot of value. That's a lot of plus money. It's always worth taking a look at. And that's something that I've tried to really induce into my handicapping this year is chasing that value and, not always going after that great underdog spot, but making a point to try and look at that plus money and see if there's a good opportunity for it there. And, there might be a decent opportunity for it in this one because I think the Pittsburgh Penguins might take them a little bit lightly. And realistically, the Arizona Coyotes have been scoring goals in bunches a lot more than the Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, their last game against the Philadelphia Flyers, who I unfortunately was on them as a plus 115 underdog, and they blew the lead for me. They can flat out score. I mean, they came out hard. They came out with confidence, and these guys. You've got Clayton Keller, of course, Galchenyuk's back now. Nick Cousins, Derek Stepan. They're not all stars, man. Like they're not like crazy making the all-star lineup, Hart Trophy candidate guys. They're just a core of three, for lack of better words. I know we can, use some language here, Ian. They're just, three lines of bad motherfuckers that just work their asses off. That's really what they are, because there's no all-stars. There's no guys, that can really light the score sheet up. There's no Crosbys on this team. And to be honest with you, Ian, after I've heard you on this show get a little, talk about the Arizona Coyotes, it made me get more interested in them, and it made me look at them more. And I'm looking at this team and I'm saying, even when they have a good defensive game, they had a stretch from October 23rd, I'm looking at it right now, to October 30th, where they allowed just one goal per game. And that's against, not to mention just crappy teams being involved in that, but that's Columbus, that's Tampa Bay, that's teams that are actually pretty good in there. And then you mix Vancouver in the mix, and Ottawa's there. So, I'm talking 4-1, 4-1, 7-1, 5-1. You can't discredit that. We can't look at that and think, wow, they only have a few guys and, they're not that deep. You look at this Arizona Coyotes lineup right now. First of all, you got Dylan Strome, a recognizable name on the fourth line down there. A lot of these guys wouldn't even be doing anything special on any other team, but they've come together, they've been collective, and they've made a big difference. And of course, we've got a lineup looking over here. Dominic Simon, Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust, Evgeny Malkin, Hornquist, Hagelin. These are all names that we've heard go deep into the playoffs, make plays, make clutch moments. And even when Crosby or Malkin or Kessel aren't playing well, Ian, as we all know, he has that supporting cast. They have that supporting cast that can really step up for them and make a difference continuously on a nightly basis. And that's what's really going to be the task here, because it's almost two teams that are on different ends of the spectrum, and two teams that kind of grind out wins a little bit differently. So in this aspect, I'm kind of going to go against the grain here, because I know that to a certain degree, Pittsburgh has to bounce back at some point from their little goal drought. They've been involved in quite a few low-scoring games. They haven't been able to find that. But I think, Pittsburgh will scrape together a lower-scoring victory here this evening. I think Arizona will kind of get shut down tonight. I think Pittsburgh's going to play pissed off. They're going to play defensively. They'll get maybe an early goal, protect the lead, and maybe scrape out a 2-1, 3-1 kind of victory. I just can't see this one firing over. I can't see, a 4-3 style game between these two teams, especially with the games that they're coming off of. Philadelphia game for Arizona was simply brutal. You mentioned it. I know that obviously Darcy Kemper is no anti-Ranta, but he still was in that game. He still competed. There's just certain rebound spots and angles that he wasn't there for, Ian, and it was embarrassing to watch. The defensive core let him down numerous times, and I was pissed off to watch it because they blew away their lead, and their offensive players did a great job getting that lead. So that's tough to see. So for me, I'm going to look at the under. There is a decent trend with that, actually. Under, and it's gone under 4 of their last 6 games on the road in Pittsburgh. So that's not bad. I have that on my side, but I just think it'll be a defensive style game. Both these two teams are going to come out with a purpose and a game plan. And if I'm Arizona, I'm not trying to go goal for goal with this Penguins team, Ian.
Yeah, Pittsburgh did play good defensively against Washington. Very, very good. One of their better defensive games. And again, they lost 2-1, but they played good in their own zone. Washington didn't get a boatload of quality chances. Pittsburgh had a bunch, just couldn't bury any of them. That was a low-scoring game. And for that reason, maybe they're trying to play better defensively. They talked about it actually going into the Washington game. They followed through on it. It was a 2-1 game. Maybe you do get something like that. We'll see. Kemper, though, man, tough to trust him. We'll see if he can play better than he did the last 2 against Philly. Vegas and Montreal. Next up, we've got Montreal -105, -110, even money, 5.5 the total. Don't have much on this game, really, to be honest with you. You got Montreal finally lost 2 in a row for the first time this season. The trend's over. The perfect awful loss trend for Montreal is over. It ended the other night with a 6-5 loss in overtime to the Buffalo Sabres in that game. Tell you what, I'm absolutely confounded here by Carey Price, who got off to a great start this season. It's been not just a bad week, it's been a brutal week for him. He was not good against the Rangers in that third period the other night. Was not very good against that Ristolainen overtime winner. Stoppable puck for a guy with the street cred, so to speak, of a Carey Price. And he was not able to stop it. And in fact, there was a couple goals. You would think Carey Price can make those saves. He didn't, and Buffalo gets the win. So now there's concern again. You know, with the Montreal, they're like a bunch of basset hounds there in Montreal. As soon as Carey Price has two shitty games like he did, we're all over the guy. What's wrong with him? Is there something wrong? Maybe you got to sit him down. You got to sit him down. I believe they are sitting him down. I think you are seeing Antti Ranta in that. It has been confirmed. Antti Ranta getting the start, giving Carey a little mental rest, a little physical rest, trying to shake off these really two poor starts he's had this week against the Rangers and the Sabres in back-to-back games. So Montreal is going with Antti Ranta has been solid. He's given the Canadians a chance to win every game so far this season. That's all you can ask for out of him. We'll see if he can step up now to the plate. You got to wonder, if he plays great and they win tonight, does he get another start? You always have to wonder about this kind of situation when you've got, you know, your number one guy struggling. Sometimes coaches will do that. They'll go to the backup, and if he gets them a win and he plays well, might stick with him and run with him for just a little bit. So opportunity knocks here for Antti Ranta against the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. On the flip side, Vegas, okay, it was against Ottawa. But you finally got a win. You needed it desperately. Their offense came to life, but it was Ottawa. They're letting a lot of offenses spring to life against them these days, and Vegas was able to do that 5-3 the other night. Nice win for the Golden Knights. We'll see if they can keep it up here. Maybe they go on a run. That's a confidence booster. When a team's struggling and then they win that first game, I'm reluctant to go against them the next game. Maybe they get a little shot of adrenaline, energy, confidence, and they take it with them into the next game. That could be the case here for Vegas. I lean Vegas, but not probably going to get involved. I need to see them do it against a better opponent. Montreal certainly is that. We'll see if Montreal can bounce back, because that's now 2 losses in a row for them for the first time this year against New York and Buffalo. Not involved, but a fascinating game to watch, even though I'm not involved in it from a betting perspective. Andrew, your Habs against the Golden Knights, and some Carey Price questions coming into the fray again. What else is
new? Yeah, what else is new is right. Man, as far as that goes, Ian, I swear he'd be perfect in an LA Kings kind of, you know, environment, an Arizona Coyotes environment. He needs to go to a place where nobody knows who he is, and the media couldn't care less. And this guy, I feel like, as much as he's nice to the media and stuff like that, you mentioned it. I mean, you're in that spotlight in Montreal like no other. It's like, you know, in Toronto, you got the media on you, but it's just the pressure of every single person around you in Montreal. And I think Carey Price doesn't really cope well with that. Especially, well, realistically, this year is almost the first year that I can confidently say that we've had some goal production from this team. I mean, of course, we got your famous Max Pacioretty. They finally got rid of him, Max Pacioretty, that, you know, just couldn't consistently put pucks in the back of the net. And he was supposed to be the captain, supposed to be one of the best goal scorers on the team. And, you know, we got rid of him for a reason. He wasn't producing for that team whatsoever. And so looking at that, I think that Price has to sit back and relax and say, hey, look, this team's scoring in front of me, and kind of give them some more respect, because right now I used to look at things and feel bad for Price, but now I'm feeling bad for the team, because he's not really bailing them out whatsoever and helping their case with this one whatsoever. Taking a look at Vegas here, man. They're still a team, but, you know, they're on this road trip right now in the East, but they're still a team that I do not consistently trust their goal production. With the guys that they have, Ian, I don't think there's too many of them. First of all, so on the topic of Pacioretty, what the hell has he consistently done for this team? Marchessault is pretty much a marked man now. Carlson is that guy you can still count on. And you know, moving down the lineup, like, you know, guys like Cody Eakin, Alex Tuck, those are the guys that have to get involved. I'll continue to say this, and this is my take on the Vegas Golden Knights. Last year, they were so successful because nobody knew who their all-stars were going to be. Nobody knew what their systems were going to be, how they were going to run, how they were going to be, you know, they're going to kind of producing offensively, and you know, what we could really expect from them. And I think that's really what it comes down to. If you're a new team to a league, you got a coach like Gallant who came in, great coach, did a great job, led this team all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. But now it's kind of like, hey, not so fast, you know. Other teams are working their butts off to get to this position as well. So you got to slow things down and say, hey, you know, what's going wrong here? So for a team that's not scoring that much whatsoever and having terrible goal production issues, now coming into Montreal, who's off a pretty bad loss in my eyes last game, I think Montreal takes this one. I think we also see an under 1.5 in the first period in this one. I think this is a lower scoring game. I think Antti Ranta's been playing, I think Niemi's been playing really well. And On the topic of Price, if he sees Niemi come in, he's got to think to himself, if he has any kind of competitive aspect or competitive nature to himself, he's got to think, geez, this guy's going to come in and steal the show and have a goals against average of like 2 goals per game. Then I got to step my game up, because I think that he'll come out and have a great performance tonight, and the Habs will take care of things in a lower style game.
All right, looking at Habs and under, with the way Andrew would go in this game. Yeah, I mean, Montreal, they've been one of those teams that, and offensively, they've really exceeded expectations. They've had a really good performances from a lot of their players. I mean, Max Domi's been great. Drouin's had a turnaround season so far for Montreal. Lekkonen's chipped in. It's been great to see. Philip Deneau, Tatar even's chipped in a little bit. So there's a lot of things to like with Montreal. Defensively, they've regressed. It's been a tough week defensively for them. Now it's starting to look like Jeff Petry's back to his old ways a little bit the last couple of games. A little bit of a turnover machine. Jordy Ben, I don't know. Gosh, still bothers me. That guy's in an NHL blue line right now. But yeah, we'll see if they can iron that out tonight against the.
Bothers me too.
And I'm sure it really bothers you as a Habs fan. Exactly. If it bothers me, holy goodness, how can it affect a Habs fan, a diehard, hardcore Habs fan like you? But yeah, definitely some issues with. We'll see if they can play better in front of Niemi, and of course, we'll see if Niemi can play better than Price. Wasn't all the defense though. Price let in some softies in both those 2 games, so we'll see if Niemi can hold the fort in net tonight for the Canadians. Last game on the card before we call it a show, and then we'll have best bets. Calgary, Los Angeles. LA -110, total 5.5, shaded to the over. Looking long and hard at the Calgary Flames here in this game, no question about it. But I'm probably not going to be on them if it's Mike Smith again. Mike Smith's bothering me. He did not play well against Anaheim. He hasn't played well most of the season. Jack Campbell is playing well. The issue for the LA team is offensively. Continue to sputter. Okay, they had that one step up, win one for the Gipper in the first game with Willie Desjardins as the new coach against Anaheim. They played a good game, won 4-1. And I said, I'm going to watch that Minnesota game and see if they can follow it up and maybe go on a run for the new coach. And they've dropped that game 3-1 against the Minnesota Wild. So not much staying power there. Can they get back off the schneid? Maybe. But Calgary's the better of these 2 teams still. And Calgary, I think, is going to not overlook this LA team. They lost their last game 3-2 against Anaheim. They outshot the Ducks 39-24, deserved a better fate in that game. Ryan Miller got the start for the Anaheim Ducks in that game. He was very, very good in that. That snapped a 4-game win streak for the Flames. I think they have a decent chance to get back on track here. I just think they're better than LA. They're certainly better offensively than LA, way more game breakers. And I think if David Riddick is in net, and Riddick's numbers, you look at the difference between the 2 goalies. Riddick, .927 save percentage. And his goals saved above average, that great metric for goalies, is plus 3.34 goals. And when you have a plus sign in front of it, that's very good. If you look at Mike Smith, .902 save percentage, a -2 goals saved above average. What a difference and a drop-off between Riddick and Smith, 2 goalies this year for the Flames. So I'm hoping we get Riddick back-to-back for Calgary. They're in LA tonight. They're in San Jose tomorrow night. Riddick is going to get one of these games. It's a question of which one. Smith will get the other. I lean Calgary, even if it's Smith. Absolutely will bet Calgary if it's Riddick. I think they have a chance to bounce back here and beat the Kings. Andrew, any thoughts on Flames Kings to wrap up the card?
Yeah, I just wanted to just make sure I recover from what I said and just correct myself here. When I was talking about the Ottawa versus Tampa Bay Lightning game, it's important that I do mention. I said the goal production is inconsistent for that. I had someone that mentioned me on Twitter here. The goal production is inconsistent. And, that Uber incident, I meant to say, they're following that. They actually did have that impressive performance. They put up a 7-3 spot, but they also then had a 5-3 spot against Vegas. So it's the inconsistency that I meant to say. So that person that tweeted at me, if you're still watching this show right now, it's the inconsistency of defense that really hurts this Ottawa team, because I've mentioned it. They can score. That's not what I'm worried about with this team. It's the leaving Craig Anderson out to dry, and it's a defense just nowhere to be found in big moments. So just want to correct that real quick. Just making a point to make sure I get that out there, because it's true. They did have a good bounce back performance, and the whole Uber thing afterwards, that they've been scoring, but their defense still doesn't look very good. And now looking at Calgary, LA, this is an interesting match. I mean, for me, this isn't much of a road spot for Calgary. It's obviously a decent one, but I'm not going to look too much into it. We're early into the season. I think that simply the fact is I'd like to see Riddick in nets, but there's far more talent, far more goal scorers, far more offensive weapons, and far more guys that have confidence. That pretty much is what comes down to it. It's strictly confidence coming into this one. I've been loving Lindholm right now so far. James Neal seems to be finding his way with the Calgary Flames finally, not just scoring wise, but just chances wise, opportunities, chemistry with his teammates. I've been impressed with James Neal so far, and of course you got guys like Backlund and Kachuk that you can consistently rely on for shot numbers, and not really quality shots, but just being dangerous, being those pests around the net. So that's what gives me confidence. And this LA team, to me, Ian, they're still slow, man. They're still a slow team that I cannot trust whatsoever offensively. They're a team in the National Hockey League right now where we're seeing 6.5s and 7s as goal totals from betting perspectives, and they're averaging 2.2 goals per game. It's gross. 28 shots per game, and how many out of those 28 shots are actually dangerous and not just Drew Doughty floating a puck to the net, on a power play? This team's been a disgrace. This team hasn't been offensively, talented whatsoever so far this game. Their penalty kill percentage is the only thing that's really held them in. But I would look under in this one. Calgary games go under quite a bit on the road. They go under quite a bit when they play against the Kings. But I would definitely look at Calgary in this one, especially like you said, if we're getting the backup Tendy in there, you'll probably get some even better value. But I would still look at Calgary on the money line to come in and upset this one, but also a lower scoring game in this one as well.
All right, we're both in agreement there with the Calgary Flames and a lean to the under as well for Andrew in that game, Flames and Kings. Yeah, again, Kings had that perk-up effort that first game with Desjardins, did not filter through to the Minnesota game. Reality sank in that is still not just a very good hockey team and still having trouble lighting the lamp. All right, we're going to wrap the show up with best bets for the Saturday card. Andrew, what do you got for us with best bet on this Saturday?
Get the mic on there. All right, yeah. Looking at the late card here, I'm going to look at Montreal and Vegas. I think that I'm going to take a look at my team, the team that I don't back too often, don't give out as a best bet too often, but coming off 2 losses, facing the Vegas team who's on the road. They're coming off a game versus an easier team in my eyes, and a team that, especially a team like Ottawa, that is a lot easier to walk around and a lot easier to walk over. And I think that Montreal has to step things up defensively, and the Emmy will have a lot better performance and make life tough on the Vegas Golden Knights. And of course, you can't really take it away that, of course, Max Pacioretty comes back. We'll see how the reaction is for that. But I think Montreal comes out with a strong performance, a little bit low scoring possibly. But Montreal tonight should handle things and take it. So I'll look at Montreal for my best bet here, Ian. It's a decent price here, just the -110, -105 some spots, and I like it a lot. So I'm going to go with this Montreal Canadiens spot.
All right, Montreal Canadiens -110 for Andrew with his best bet. I'm going to go back to I'm going to go Rangers Columbus. We're going to go over 5.5 -125. Not confirmed yet, but I'm expecting Joonas Korpisalo for Columbus. I'm expecting Alexander Georgiev for the New York Rangers. Those are 2 subpar goalies. I think we see goals in Columbus tonight. We'll go over 5.5 with the Rangers and Jackets for my Saturday NHL best bet on the Ice Guys show. That's going to wrap things up for this Saturday edition. Thanks to everyone for joining us. A great showing as well for this extended Saturday show. 85 people. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Thanks to Andrew as well for joining me as well late in the show. We'll be back Tuesday, 9 a.m. Eastern time with our next edition of the NHL Ice Guys. And we should have everyone back in a full house present for that show on Tuesday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Join us then. For Andrew McGinnis, I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the NHL hockey action on this Saturday. Good luck with all your wagers all weekend long, and we'll see you again on Tuesday.